Hello, everybody. For Fun FTC, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Ishaan.
And we're going to be talking about countdown of the robot in 30 hours, robot in 3 days, robot in 1 day, 2 day, whatever these call the quick builds that teams have created. We have 11 teams to count down. Actually, the one you're seeing on screen is not one that we're considering, but we'll go through the countdown list on there. Ishaan, talk to us about some of the 11 teams that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, a lot of cool robots, a lot of high-performing robots. With the game that's a little bit mechanically easier than previous games that we've seen, you have a lot of robots that are really successful, and you can build up on to make really cool robots, especially when the season comes along. So really excited to see how teams take these concepts and build upon them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is possible that we missed a team or two. We tried to grab as many as we could, and specifically looking at the quick build type teams. So we know some teams already have some robots created, which is awesome, but we're going to be specifically looking at the teams that are going to be on this list. And we have a few categories, Ishaan. Do you mind talking a little bit about them that we're going to be judging on a 1 to 5 scale?
Yeah, so we got ease to build. Like a lot of teams, they just need a robot in 3 days because they tried building a robot and it doesn't work. So they got 3 days before competition, get something easy to build. That's what we're looking at there. We got practicality. How practical would it be to take something like this to a competition? Reliability and performance are tied hand in hand, right? You want a robot that's able to reliably score, and also if it reliably scores, then it's scoring. And then we finally got wow factor, which is just how cool it looks.
Yeah, and a couple things to know that practicality as well too. Looking at can somebody build this better and learn from it in particular? Like that's how we kind of looked at it. Is this something teams can actually learn from to go more? And reliability, I don't know about you, Sean, but I looked at it a lot. Like, is this robot just going to die on the field, or does it get stuck? Depending what kind of chassis it uses, that sort of thing too.
Yep, definitely. I mean, with a lot of these robots, it's very hard to get wiring done neatly in 30 hours. So you might see wires dangling on the ground, and that definitely can take away from reliability.
Absolutely. And last thing before we jump in is mentioned that these are rated 1 to 5 in each one. We might go into each individual scores, we might not. The interesting thing, though, is all teams fell somewhere between 2 to 4. And we do have a tiebreaker at the end, too, so excited to talk about that.
Giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
We'd like to thank Stryker for their continued support of First Updates Now. Stryker's internship portal is now open and available. Discover internships and rotational programs located around the world, including their headquarters in Michigan, when you go to careers.stryker.com and click on Students and Graduates. We'd also like to thank Kettering University. Kettering University is where robotics students come for their education. Over 30% of those who attend Kettering University were in high school robotics, and you can keep going with their BattleBots, VexU, esports, and First Mentorship programs. If you are a U.S. student grades 8 through 12, scan the QR code to stay up to date on info and events happening at Kettering and get a free Kettering t-shirt when you sign up by December 12th, 2021.
Let's jump into our first set of teams, starting out, Ishaan, with the UNLV team Mary Poppins, which is their scooper robot that they have.
Yeah, really easy to build a robot like this. It's all made out of Tetrix. It's using the kit of parts. So super simple robot. It's going to be a little bit difficult to score with a claw like that, right? It takes a lot of time to line up with the packages, or the freight as they're called. But definitely a very simple robot that a rookie team could easily start out with and score some points with.
Yeah, so the easy to build, definitely getting a good score on this. And this team had an overall of 2 out of 5 on average here. But they did fall short in a couple other areas, Ishaan. Wow factor, it's a robot on wheels that's got a scooper, that sort of thing. And performance, it is pretty slow as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that it looks reliable. Like they've cleaned up the wiring, they've made the phone secure on there, and the robot seems like it's not going to die. Plus, they're running on a full field. Doesn't look like it's a house area, so that's nice to see. One of the things that I would like to see teams that are building a robot like this is seeing how they could potentially speed it up, because the drivetrain does seem a little bit slow, and how they can make it easier to pick up those blocks.
And moving on to our number 10 team with the score 2.3 out of 5. That's FTC 12973. And they do claim the world record here, at least previously on here as well. So this is 12973, Ishaan.
Yep. So they took a drivetrain that they built over the summer and added a wheel that spins on it, and that's their robot. And I think this is a perfectly valid strategy for a lot of teams, especially November competitions. If you can score all 10 duckies, if you fast forward to near the end of the match, all they do at the end of the match is score the 10 duckies. So when endgame comes, they just sit there and they spin it, and then they stop spinning it. Spin it, stop spinning it 10 times. And then that's all their robot really does. But still, effective strategy gets a lot of points, especially in a game where points are going to be of high demand.
Yeah, and this robot kind of had a polarizing score to it where, easy to build. Yeah, it's super easy to build, so we're going to give them points for that. But, the practicality of it, is it something teams are going to learn from? Yeah, probably not so much. Not really a wow factor there as well. So that's going to leave this team in the number 10 spot with a 2.3 rating. Going on to number 9 is going to be Iron Rain here. A very interesting robot that they have. It was a robot in 2 days. This team scored 2.5 out of 5 in our scale.
Yeah, overall, rev heavy robot. So it's all made of extrusion. Really like that. It gives it a nice boxy look. They got a linear slide to lift up and down. That's going to be a little bit harder for teams to make, but definitely something that's doable. And they've got a nice solid drivetrain. Like, this robot looks like it's built to take impacts if it does run into other teams on the field. And it looks like that it can survive the rigors of competition.
Yeah, so, easy to build, definitely up there in scores, but, a few others, practicality, reliability, and in performance and in the wow factor is going to be on the lower end of something like that. And that's in the number 9 spot, once again, for Iron Rain on the robot in 2 days. Before we get to our next team, let's thank our sponsor, Kettering University, one of the top engineering schools in the country, and let's learn a bit more about how you can graduate debt-free at Kettering University.
When I was considering where to go to college, one of the biggest things for me was figuring out how I was going to be able to pay for college. And it wasn't really until I came to Kettering to one of the Dog Days of Summer events that I figured out how I was going to be able to do that. And it was actually because of this senior chemical engineering student. She was getting ready to graduate and she had told me about all of her phenomenal experiences, both on co-op and here on campus. But more importantly, she told me that she was going to graduate debt-free. And that was an eye-opener for me. That was the first time I'd ever heard that from a college student, and so that's when I knew that I was sold. So really from there, as soon as I came to Kettering, I knew that that was going to be my goal. I wanted to graduate debt-free. And I did that through a variety of ways. First, of course, the co-op experience was a tremendous help. But I even looked at ways to work here on campus. So I was a federal work study student. I worked in a variety of organizations, and that not only gave me the extra funds, but also different opportunities to meet people and understand our resources here at Kettering. Also looking at scholarships not only here at Kettering University, but even from my hometown and other sources, all of this cumulatively helped me to graduate debt-free.
Number 8, we're going to move on to Screw It, 11047. Cool to see a team not from the States that we're going to be talking about on here. And Screw It with a 2.6 average ranking in the number 8 spot.
Yeah, they use an all matrix bot. So for those of you who aren't familiar with what matrix is, we have Tetrix here in the States, right? That's what first advertises to pretty much all teams in the United States. Or they use Rev. Internationally, Matrix is the building system that first has traditionally advertised as a starter kit, and so they build pretty much an all Matrix bot. And one of the cool things that I like about theirs is they put those wheels on the side. That way they can hug the wall, get real quick into and out of the package zone, and then put it on the shared shipping hub.
Yeah, and you and I kind of, when we were going through these, had a little bit of a difference on a couple of the scores on there. But overall, score high, easier to build as well. The reliability looking pretty good for something like that. As mentioned, I love the wheels as well, too. I think that's a great thing that we might see other teams even employ as well, too, as they, for especially teams who maybe aren't strong and autonomous or something like that. Could be something interesting to see for the Screw It team.
Yep, it's something that FLL teams have done forever, and this is a great opportunity to take that and move it to FTC.
And that's number 8 for Robot in 1 Day, the Screw It team. Moving on to number 6 with jumping up in rating a little bit, a rating of 2.9 out of 5, my apologies. 2.9 out of 5 in the 7th spot is going to be Ultraviolet FTC and our friend Egan as well.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about this is the first robot on the list with an active intake that actively brings the blocks into the robot. Sure, it may drop the blocks occasionally like it just did, but it still has something that makes it a lot easier on the drivers to pick up and deposit blocks. One of the other things that I really liked about this bot is it's almost exclusively exclusively Go Builder parts. So no custom machining. A lot of the robots that started to get up in performance, they resorted to custom machining. They resorted to a lot of 3D printing. This one seems to stick a lot to the Go Builder kit and allows teams to have access to a design like this.
And one of the things to mention, this team kind of just sat in the middle for a lot of things, but it did score, a little bit lower in reliability. You can see on there getting stuck a few times with the drivetrain that they selected for things. So, obviously we'd probably want to change that up a little bit. I'm sure if they were to redo things, they'd maybe change that up a bit as well. But Ultraviolent coming in with a score 2.9 and number 7th in our rankings. In number 6 is going to be a team that I was out filming, which is the Bulldogs, specifically the Lightning Savior robot. We didn't judge their other robot, which you think I was there, I'd remember what it was called off the top of my head, but there we go, Squeeze. I was going to say it's got a little squeeze mechanism to it, but Squeeze on there, ranked 6 with a rating of 3.3 overall, pretty close to the next one as well too. But yeah, Bulldogs Lightning Saber. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Again, another active intake, also made out of a lot of kit parts, so really like that. I think that this is a very accessible design that most teams could make, right? You make a cardboard hopper, you get a Go Build a Strafer kit, maybe make some modifications like they did, and this is something feasible that I think any team could put together in 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, overall, easier build robot, that's for sure. The Go Build a Strafer chassis, they modified a little bit. They actually kind of chamfered off the front of it instead of trying to raise the frame or something like that, which we'll talk about the Go Builder robot a little bit later. So it did get stuck sometimes. Overall, it did pretty well. The spinner for the ducks did pretty good, but it is slow. Watching the scoring on it, it is a slow process for that. So, a little bit less in the performance and wow factor, a little bit higher in the easier to build and practicality scores, but 3.3 still a respectable score for the Bulldogs, and nicely done to them as they're going to wind up in our number 6 spot on this list. Next up, we have Vulcan Robotics, 8375, 3.4, so pretty close on this one. I really like this robot a lot aesthetically. I thought looked really neat. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of our more thoughts on this, Ishaan.
Yeah, Vulcan Robotics has been throwing Robot in 3 days ever since Rescue. So really, they know what they're doing when it comes to Robot in 3 days. The one gripe I have with this robot, even though it's amazing performer, looks really good, is they pretty much just use a custom-made drivetrain that they reuse every year. That's pretty inaccessible for a lot of teams, right? They have it all CNC machine, pocketed, and it looks really nice, but it's just very difficult to build for teams that might not have machine shop access. So they have a really cool path for the block to follow, really nicely done with the plastic pieces. So I think that this could be a prototype for a team that's more advanced, but I can't see rookie teams using something like this.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people might be asking, well, like why is that a metric there or something like that? Well, these are the metrics that we came up with while looking at these. So, your mileage may vary in how you judge some of these, but we feel that's important with any sort of quick build, that it is something that teams can learn from, right? I've always approached Robot in 3 days, Robot in 30 hours, whatever you want to call it, as it's not just about building a robot, it's about how can you positively influence the community for things. And so Vulcan Robotics is a really cool looking robot. It performs what looks to be really well, so love that. But, easy to build, as you mentioned, Ishaan. It's going to be it's a difficult robot to build, especially for a rookie team. So that's going to put them in our number 5 spot. We're going to keep moving on with a score of 3.6 out of 5. We're moving up there. It's 14,531. Talk to me about this team a little bit, Ishaan, with a score of 3.6.
Yeah, they have almost exclusively an MDF robot. And one of the things that I really like about that is anyone can buy MDF from Home Depot and cut it with any handsaw, right? You could handsaw this robot together and it would be good. Sure, it's a little bit more difficult to do than just bolting together Go Builder parts, but overall is able to still be accessible to build, but it also performs well, right? You'll see it's able to pick up blocks, it's able to get over those, tubes, it's able to score with their linear slide system that I believe they're just using an Actobotics or Go Build a linear slide kit for. So again, it's a Go Build a linear slide kit, very easy for someone to access, but also a very high performing robot.
Yeah, I really like the ease of build in this overall. I mean, it's still a somewhat complex robot to it, but adding the ability to just do what they did the way that they did, I think was really neat. And performance, this kind of versus the last team we just talked about with Vulcan, where they were kind of polarized from one side or the other. This team just overall very similar 3s and 4s on averages for things. So just a well built machine, and really cool to see this team coming out of California. By the way, the Second Rebellion. With their robot dropping into the number 4 spot. So congratulations to them on that. Before we get to our next team, let's thank long-term partner Stryker for the continued support of First Updates Now. So Stryker internships are opening up right now if you're interested in getting an awesome paid internship. They actually cover your housing as well, so you get an opportunity to potentially travel to many different places. Their headquarters in Michigan, but they have places in so many locations, and you got to check them out. So go to careers.stryker.com. Click underneath where their internships are. Of course, if you're looking past an internship, your first job, or looking for a career later on, Stryker is a top-paying place that actually believes in you being in first. So make sure you go check them out at careers.stryker.com to learn more. All right, these last 3 are really close. They actually, the top 3 that we had were off by only a 1/10 of a point, and actually the top 2 tied, and we had a tiebreaker that we established for this as well. So let's start out with the next one, and that's going to be 8680 Kraken Pinion with a score of 3.9 out of 5. They have a pretty cool looking robot. If you're watching the one, it's the one on the right here. We didn't judge the other robot as we couldn't get enough footage for what we're looking for, but Kraken Pinion, it's been known to make good robots for a long time, and this robot in 30 hours they created looks pretty good as well too, Ishaan.
Yeah, so it looks like a Go Build a robot. Effective, really, really effective at picking up those blocks and balls and scoring them. They got like a cool four bar. It's not even a 4-bar. It's like a gravity fed 4-bar mechanism. But one of the things to note about this is I noticed that they were jamming their intake a lot, and that's really expected with a lot of robot in 3 days, right? You don't have the time to tune up that intake, make sure that it's able to score. The other thing I noticed with them is I believe they were running an autonomous. So I think they took a lot of the odometry stuff in previous years and threw it on this robot to get an autonomous program working. And that's a great way to prototype a lot of the software, right? Take a test bed and just make your autonomous work, at least the motions, and your robot's going to be way further along than a lot of other teams.
Yeah, I really love the simplicity of this gravity, the hopper that's holding the game piece in there. I think is really cool. Their other robot, the other team that was with them, actually did something similar as well too, because they were so impressed by it. And yeah, just overall high marks, reliability, performance, and wow factor. I think this is a great robot that teams can look at, and from an ease of build standpoint, they can look at and say, hey, I could make something like this similar. I love the idea of having this skinny robot as well too, so you can still utilize odometry. I mean, you might be able to use it anyways, but in the way that they do, I think it's great. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more, I believe, with our next team. But Kraken Pinion, in 30 hours looking good. They had a little bit of not, I wouldn't say rough year, but maybe not to their expectations last year. So if this is any indicator how their robot's going to look for the rest of the season, very excited to see Kraken Pinion going into Freight Frenzy. In number 2, like I said, this is a tiebreaker, and our tiebreaker came down when we were looking at things to practicality, and practicality being if it, once again, if a team can they learn from it, can they build something better? Both these teams had high marks in it, but there was just that one little tiebreaker, which was very close. So our next team on this list is going to be our friends from Go Builda, and their Freight Frenzy robot that they've created, skinny robot, obviously a lot of Go Builda parts, super cool performer, Ishaan.
Yeah, I really like their drivetrain on this one, right? They've made it very narrow. They've stuck the motors vertically, and they've made it also a very short robot, so then it can turn very quickly. They got these diagonal linear slides, which I think inspiration from Rover Ruckus, when a lot of teams threw on diagonal linear slides, makes the travel time a little bit shorter. One of the things to note is I think they can get stuck on those pipes. right? And let's say you get pushed into those pipes and you get stuck on them, you're done for the rest of the match.
Sure.
So risky strategy there, but overall, just such a quick robot.
You know, I didn't even think about that, I haven't had a chance to see if it could get potentially stuck as well. But yeah, with that low clearance, with that the Go Build a chassis there, interesting to see with that. Yeah, high marks overall in reliability, performance, wow factor. I mean, the cycle time on this robot is just awesome, and I love to see it. I thought Go Build It did a great job demonstrating this year as well too. Ease of build, lower score on that. You know, as you look at what parts are being used and how teams might be able to do it, but overall, you got to give a big props to Go Build a and their robot this year for coming out with a 4 out of 5 in our score and in second place. And our number one team this year has been building robots for a long time, and this is just an incredible machine, and that's going to be the Robot in 30 Hours robot, looking great with the average score 4 out of 5 and winning the practicality score by half a point.
Yeah, a really, really good robot. They always come out with really good robots, and this robot, like, I could see this architecture of a robot being used at Worlds and be successful. They have a really cool linkage to extend their linear slides. They got a really quick scoring robot. They have an active intake, which brings in the blocks. They just did almost everything right here, as right as you can do in Robot in 30 Hours. So really like the stuff that they've done here. Again, a little bit of a harder robot to build, but that isn't really the point of why they do it. They do it for their alumni to have fun and not to really benefit and teach the FIRST community. So they definitely had fun with making this, and they really enjoyed the challenge.
See, to me, the irony of that, though, is that I believe that they did build a robot that you could build upon as well. And I think the FIRST community, in this case, can learn a lot from what they did with the different actuations that they did. You see them picking up the blocks here or the crates, and what they're doing for that. This 3-step process of doing it, I think, is really cool and something that teams could definitely learn from as they go through. So Robot in 30 Hours, making great robots every year, and congrats to them for taking number one on our list. Hey, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Click that notification bell if you'd like to be stayed up to date on what's going on with Fun FTC and FIRST Updates Now. And comment below what your favorite robot was and what you thought of our ratings as well, too. We'd love to hear your feedback, and can't wait to see you next time here on Fun FTC. Talk to you soon. Thanks to Kettering University for their support of this video. Don't just sit in class. Kettering University is the only school in the U.S. that allows you to work as an engineer your first year with their 3-month on, 3-month off co-op programs. If you are a U.S. student grades 8 through 12, scan the QR code to stay up to date on info and events happening at Kettering and get a free Kettering t-shirt when you sign up by December 12th, 2021. We'd like to thank Stryker for their continued support of FIRST Updates Now. Stryker's internship portal is now open and available. Discover internships and rotational programs located around the world, including their headquarters in Michigan, when you go to careers.stryker.com and click on Students and Graduates. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/First Updates Now. Join our Discord at discord.gg/First Updates Now. And check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.